Welcome to Judicial Review in India, the last part. For administrative law, this is Dr. K. Sangeeta. When the legislature confers discretion on the court of law or on an administrative authority, it also imposes responsibility that such discretion is exercised honestly, properly, and reasonably. This is the view of Smith, which clearly points out that discretion of administrative action should be used with care and caution. So the abusive discretionary power of an administrative action must be reviewed by judiciary. The judiciary founds any grounds of illegality on any administrative action. It is the duty of the judiciary to maintain check and balance. Grounds of judicial review of administrative action. As a general rule, courts have no power to interfere with administrative action taken by the administrative authorities in exercise of their discretionary power. This does not mean that there is no power for the court to control over the discretion of an administration. In India, the court will interfere with the discretionary power exercised by the administration in basically on two grounds. First one, the failure to exercise discretion or excess or abuse of discretion. So first one is the failure to exercise discretion. Second, excess or abuse of discretion. The judicial review of administrative action can be exercised on the following grounds. First, illegality, which means the decision maker must correctly understand the law that regulates his decision making power and must give effect to it. Irrationality. The decision is so outrageous in its defiance of logic or accepted moral standards that no sensible person could have arrived to such a decision. Procedural impropriety, which means the procedure for taking the administrative decision and the action which must be fair, reasonable and just. Proportionality, which means any administrative decision or action, the end and the means relationship must be rational. Unreasonableness, which means that either the facts do not warrant the conclusion or reached by the authority or the decision is partial or unequal in its operation. But in the famous case of Council of Civil Service Union versus Minister of Civil Service, Lord Diplock highlighted the grounds by his observations. Judicial review has, I think, developed to a stage by which the development has come about. One can conveniently classify it under three heads the grounds on which administrative action is subjected to control by judicial review. The first ground, I would call it illegality. The second, irrationality. And the third one, procedural improperly done. If you see in Ajay Hasia versus Khalid, the Regional Engineering College made admissions on the ground that it was arbitrary and unreasonable because high percentage marks were allocated for oral test. Candidates were interviewed for very short time duration. The court struck down the rule prescribing high percentage of marks for oral test because allocation of 1/3 of total marks for oral interview was plainly arbitrary and unreasonable, and it is violative of Article 14 of the Indian Constitution. In Air India versus Nargis Mirza, one of the regulations of the Air India provided that the air hostess would retire from service of the corporation upon attaining the age of 35 or on marriage or if she is carrying. It took place within 4 years of the service or first pregnancy, whichever is occurred earlier. The regulation did not prohibit the marriage after 4 years, but it said that the air hostess, after having fulfilled the first condition, became pregnant. There was no reason why pregnancy should stand in the way of her continuing in service. The Supreme Court struck down the Air India regulation and Indian Airlines regulation on the retirement and pregnancy bar on services of an air hostess as unconstitutional on the ground that the condition laid down therein was entirely unreasonable and arbitrary. When you see the current position of judicial review in India, the Supreme Court of India, since the era of A.K. Gopalan's case, in its historic judgment, which magnified the concept of doctrine of judicial review, in the present scenario, Supreme Court plays a very crucial role in interpreting the constitutional provision, and now the concept of judicial review became a fundamental feature of the Indian jurisprudence. In its recent judgment in Madras Bar Association versus Union of India, the Supreme Court scrutinized the provision of the Companies Act 1956 and declared some provision as ultra vires. In this case, the petitioner challenged the NCLT and NCALT and also challenged the formation of the committees, the appointment of the judicial members as well as the technical members. Here section 499(3)(a) and 409(3)(a) and 409(3)(c and section 411(3), 412(2) are the provisions which incorporates constitutional of Board of Companies Law Administration. The Supreme Court upheld the validity of NCLT and NACLT but declared the above mentioned provision as ultra vires and held that these provisions are unconstitutional in nature on the ground that any institution performing a judicial function should be constituted of members having judicial experience and expertise in law. Thus, judicial members were to exceed the technical members so as to maintain the essential feature of that constitution. Every organ must be within their limitation. This is the spirit of judicial review. Separation of power is a concept which correlated with all the organs, and it is the duty of the court to maintain this check and balance. But in India, courts have no power to take cognizance suo motu and to declare a law void. Courts can initiate only when matters come before them as a litigation from the aggrieved parties. The court cannot question to any political matter, but it cannot mean that the court would avoid giving the decision under a shelter of political question. It is not the duty of the court. Sometimes it seems to be that the court evolves judicial legislations, but it may not be correct in India, because in India judges do not make law and the laws are passed only in the parliament. Judiciary does not have power to make laws in India. Therefore, there is also an existence of judicial restraint. The court has also some limitation. Court cannot anticipate a question of constitutionality in advance. Court cannot declare void in doubtful cases. Courts does not declare a law void merely on the ground of sentiments and personal views. Justice Bhagwati, in his minority judgment in Minerva Mill case, observed that it is for the judiciary to uphold the constitutional values and to enforce the constitutional provision and the limitations. That is the essence of rule of law, which inter alia requires that the exercise of power by the government, whether it is be the legislative or the executive or any other authority conditioned by the constitution or the law. It enables the court to maintain harmony in the state. By declaring invalid laws, the court protects the individual as well as the collective rights of the citizens. The basic feature is to protect the individual rights. Therefore, there is a need of expansion of judicial review. To strengthen judicial review will become strengthening the liberty and the freedom of the individual. The concept of judicial review is also criticized by the strict behavior of the courts. Sometimes it is criticized in the political corridors. It should not be happening in any manner, because supremacy of law prevails in the interpretation of the court. We the people cannot question the action of judiciary, because Supreme Court performing as the guardian of the law of the land should be respected. So, understanding judicial review in India, this is the last line. Thank you so much.